Alright guys, today's goal, the learner will understand how to plot points in the coordinate plane. Okay, so this point, 0, 0, it is called the origin. Okay, that's where everything starts at. Then you have the x-axis and the y-axis. Now it starts in the upper right-hand corner. This is called quadrant 1. We know the x value is positive, the y value is positive. Okay, then it rotates counterclockwise. So it goes quadrant 1, quadrant 2. Everything in quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive. Okay, this point is not in quadrant 2 because it's on the x-axis. Okay, then we keep going counterclockwise. Quadrant 3, x is negative, y is negative. Excuse me. Then we go to quadrant 4, x is positive, y is negative. Okay, so this is something we need to just be able to mentally know about. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples here. It says use the coordinate plane to give the coordinates of points C, D, and E. So they want to know what the points are for point C, for point D, for point E. So this is what I do. Here's point C, parentheses, comma, parentheses, point D, point E. So we start at the 0, 0. C, do I move left or right at all to get to C? No. So it's 0. And then I count, I go up 1, 2. Okay? Now D, I move right 1, 2, 3. So that's positive 3. And then up 1, so it's positive 1. So this is in quadrant 1. This is on the y-axis. Now point E, I go left 1, 2. So that means negative 2. I go down 1, 2, 3. So that means negative 3. And that is in quadrant 3. Okay? We need to be able to do this quickly and easily. So we need to master this. Okay? Let's take a look at some more. Okay, this says what is the y-coordinate of any point on the x-axis? So let's go back, take a quick look at the x-axis. So they want to know the point, the y-coordinate anywhere on this x-axis. Well, I move right 1, up 0, so y is 0. Right 2, 0. Right 3, y is 0. Y is 0. Y is 0. 0, 0. Anywhere on this. The y-coordinate is 0. It is called an x-intercept because it's where it's crossing the x-axis, and the value is 0. Okay? For the y value is 0. Okay? So what is the x-coordinate of any point on the y-axis? Well, if we take a look, x equals 0, 0, 0, 0. So just like before, the value is 0. And this is called the y-intercept. Okay? So let's take a look at some more with graphing now. It says plot the points in a coordinate plane and describe the location of it. Okay? So when it says describe the location, it means which quadrant. Okay? So if we look at this, okay, 2, 5. So that means right 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be put right there. A. Quadrant 1. B is negative 1, 0. That means left 1, up 0. So there's B. And that is not the y, the x-axis. Negative 2, negative 1. That means left 1, 2, down 1. So it's right here. So there's C. Now we have to do D. So you go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2, 3. So right there. And C was in quadrant 3, and D is in quadrant 2. Okay? Alright, so let's look at how to graph these when we have equations now. Okay? So before we worry about the graph here, let's look. It says, graph the function y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2 with domain of negative 6, negative 3, 0, 3, and 6. Then identify the range of the functions. Remember, the range is all the y values, okay? So what we need to do, x, y. Well, we know negative 6, negative 3, 0, 3, 6. So I'm going to show you how to plug this in for one example, and then we're just going to do it. If you need help, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask in class, okay? So you get y equals negative 1/3, plug in the x, plus 2. Negative 1/3 times negative 6 is positive 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. So we get 4. Okay? If you plug in negative 3, you'd get 3. Plug in 0, you get 2. Plug in 3, you get 1. Plug in 6, you get 0. So we need to graph all of these. Okay? Now the range, it says identify the range. So here's the range. It would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You always do it in order. Not that it appears in the table, but in order from least to greatest. And you never write repeats either. Okay? So we need to graph these now. So we graph negative 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we graph negative 3, 3. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then we graph 0, 2. And then 3, 1. And then 4, 0. Or no, 6, 0. Actually, we don't, yeah. No, we're just graphing the points. So we don't do this connection. Well, let's look back. Did it say graph the line or just graph? Oh, it said graph the function. So it says graph the whole function by using that. So we need to do this. Okay. Let's take a look at some more examples. All right, everyone's favorite word problems. It says, the presidential election in 1972 was the first election in which 18-year-olds were allowed to vote. The table shows the number to the nearest million of votes cast in the presidential elections both before and since 1972. Okay? So this is 12 years before 1972, 8 years before, 4 years before, that is 1972, then 4 years after, 8 years after, 12 years after. Okay? It says, explain how you know the graph represents a function. I'm not going to write this down, but listen, because we need to know. It's a function because every input has exactly one output. Okay? Graph the function represented by the table. Okay. So if we go to graph that, this is years before or since 1972, and this is the votes in millions label our graphs. So then -4, -8, -12, 4, 8, 12, and just label. Okay. And then here I'm going to do this because I'm going to make our first value 65. That little diagonal means we're skipping, so we're not starting at 0. And then I'm going to go 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. So I'm going to start with the easy one. So 0.78 would be approximately there. And then 4.82, I'm just graphing the positive ones first. And then 8.87, 12.93. Oh, that last one a little off. Okay. And then if we go backwards, -4.73, -8.71, and -12.69. Describe the trend in the number of votes. Now, it's not a line. You can't draw straight through, but the trend is votes are increasing. Each year. Okay? Alright, we'll see you guys in class.